Okay, back for a new exciting demo on the tool chest project. At this point, you guys have dressed your panels, your 4 panels all to size, and you've cut the dovetails in all of those, both your pins and your tails, and you've already also cut your dado to accept the back panel. Okay, so you've cut this dado in all 4 of your pieces. Then you've come to me, and this is the part where I help you cut the rest of the stop dados to accept your drawer dividers. This is the part I'm going to help you guys with, just because it's a little bit of a change of setup every time, and I'm just going to go a little quicker if I just kind of crank them out for you and do that part. So this happens to be Rebecca's, actually from the other class, but I've already done that part for her. Now it's going to be her job to go and square these dados up. Okay, so because our drawer divider is square, and of course this is the front edge of the tool chest right here, and you can see our drawer divider here, there's no gap. So we want to make sure we square this off real nice. So first thing I'm going to do to set that up is I'm going to take my marking gauge, and I've got a 1 1/8 offset here from the front edge of the chest. Okay, so that is going to allow space for the drawer, or sorry, the door to nest up inside that spot, and it also gives me a little bit of room for whatever kind of hardware I'm going to have on the front of the drawers. Okay, so Rebecca's going to do the same on hers. So what she's going to do is take a marking gauge, and we're going to set this to 1 1/8. So we're going to do the same as mine. You can alter this, by the way, too. It doesn't have to be 1 1/8. If you want to put a higher profile, chunkier kind of drawer pull on there, you can make your drawers shallower with more of an offset and have more room for hardware if you like. Or, again, this is where the choices of the project kind of dictate what you do as well. If you choose not to do a door, you could even have these drawers come out further and have less of an offset to give you a little bit deeper drawer either way. Okay? At any rate, 1 1/8 is what we're doing here today, so I've got my marking gauge set up for that. So if you can zoom in on this here a little bit more, Brianna, I'm going to take my marking gauge, and I'm going to come referencing from the front edge. I'm going to put a good mark in here with my marking gauge, just in front of where my stop dados are. Okay, and this is going to be the actual line that I put my chisel into to create that. Okay, so now I have exactly the same offset all the way down, and I would do the other one too. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to sharpen up 2 chisels. Okay, so I have a wide one here, I have a 1 inch, and I also have a 1/4 inch. I like using the wide one first, just because it helps me get a little bit straighter cut here. So I'm going to take this wide chisel, referencing the back side of it on one edge of this dado, and I'm just going to come in and start nibbling out. I'm just going to kind of walk the chisel right up to the line that I've created there. Okay, so I'm actually pretty good on this side. Flip it around and do the other side, and we're going to just do that. Walk the chisel. And trust me when I say take another couple minutes and make sure that you're dealing with a sharp chisel first right off the bat. Makes a big difference. Okay, so I've taken that wide chisel, walked up either side of that dado right up to my layout line there, and then I can take my smaller 1/4 inch chisel and just come in and just nibble out this waist. Okay, we're creating a visual edge here, right? This is we're going to see this. So this is accuracy. This is where kind of the accuracy really counts, right? So I'm going to come just shaving off just a little bit at a time. until the point where I physically come right into that layout mark that I put in there with the marking gauge. Okay, when you're picking out the waste from the bottom of the dado, you can even take your chisel upside down and just kind of come along the bottom edge of the dado, just like that, and pick it out. That works really good too. Okay, when you do your final cut along this front edge of our stop dado, we're going to actually use a technique called undercutting as well. So if you look at it from this angle, my angle of the chisel is actually slightly backward. This is what we call undercutting, and it allows this front edge of the dado that we actually see to fit up tight and sharp with our drawer divider. And if there's a small gap at the bottom corner of the dado, it doesn't matter because we're not going to see it. The most important thing is we're going to get a tight joint right where we can see it. Okay, so I'm undercutting with my chisel just slightly. And there's that. Okay, so we have a nice square, straight, clean stopped dado. The next part I want to show you guys is the door track. Okay, you can see that one of these is a little different. These three here are going to be the dados, the stop dados for our drawer dividers. So this isolates our top drawer, middle drawer, and our bottom drawer. This part right here is where the door is going to track into. Okay, so there's a neat thing that happens here that we have to sort of do a little bit differently with the door. If you kind of just show a little angle on this one here, Brianna. If you guys notice, when you pull the door out, it kind of drops or clunks down into a slot in the bottom, and you can't push it back in. That's designed for a reason, so that when you flip it up, the bottom of the door is indexed in that little drop. Okay, so when you push the door in, you physically have to lift it up, and then it goes, it rides along that track. Okay, so what we have to do then back here is we have to create that little drop, right? So from at the front end of our door track right here, we've actually got to create a little drop, and it doesn't matter that much how deep it is. You just want to make it the same from one side to the other, because that's going to determine the gap, your panel gap along the bottom. Okay, so I'd actually take my marking gauge here once again, and I'm dropping down only about 1/8 of an inch. So I'm just going to put a little mark here, referenced off the end of the pin on the dovetail joinery, and I would do the same thing over here on the other one. Okay, so now I've got my two little marks here from my marking gauge that indicate that they're identical. Then I can just take my small 1/4 inch chisel and nibble that out square too. I don't have to take out the top edge here because it's a rounded pin. I don't have to square this one off the same way. I can leave this one rounded. I'm just going to come down here and chisel out this little notch here. This has to be a 1/4 inch wide right here because the pin, the door pin, is a 1/4 inch wide. Okay, so I'm going to use the same techniques that I just used on the other one, making this little drop set for the hinge pin for the door. And if I use a 1/4 inch chisel in this direction, that's going to give me the same. That's going to give me the right amount of width for that spot. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that. Go slow, take your time, sharpen your chisels. There's no need to rush this. This is kind of where the details start to create the difference between a really nice looking project. Okay, that's it.